My name is Brianne Price. I am super excited for you guys to be here tonight. I am actually joined by my friend Jody. She is in Canada and is an amazing assistant. She's going to be on here helping out with the webinar tonight. So if you need anything, please drop your comments in the chat. I actually can't see them right now. So let Jody know if you have questions. She's going to be collecting questions so that at the end we can jump into some Q&A, and she'll lead us through that. So thank you, Jody, for being on here. We're super excited to have you. So tonight, business owners, we are going to be talking about setting up for success. What are the essential systems that you need in place for a remote assistant? Now, I've gotten a lot of feedback about this topic being a little overwhelming and a little scary. So I want to make sure that business owners, I'm not going to send you home with a huge to-do list. My goal in this is actually to show you that a remote assistant can take a lot of this off your plate and can help you create systems as you go. So, we're going to dive into it. Again, as a reminder for those live on the webinar, please drop your comments in the chat. If you are catching this later on YouTube, go ahead and drop your comments in the comment section below, and I will get to them as soon as I can. So the first part of tonight is just a quick introduction, and then we're going to jump right into two main topics. We're going to chat about how to create systems for your remote assistant and delegation systems. And then we're also going to talk about how to cultivate a great relationship with your assistant. So the first part is that I'm Brianne Price. If I have not met you, it is a joy to meet you. I would love to be able to chat with you even more on a personal level of what you're doing in your business, what you're loving, what do you need help with? And we'll chat a little bit more about how to do that here in a little bit. But a little story about me is I am a former teacher. I taught elementary school and preschool. I loved it. And then I had two kids and I couldn't do it anymore. So that's actually the namesake behind Mills and Mae Services is Mills is my son's middle name and Mae is my daughter's middle name. So I decided I couldn't teach anymore and I took a huge leap of faith. I jumped into this virtual assistant world. I have worked for several clients over the years, and I am actually still an executive assistant. So I've had all the titles from executive assistant, admin assistant, virtual assistant, social media manager, you name it, I've done it. I love being an assistant. I love the back end stuff. And that's why in 2023, I opened the second half of Mills Mae Services, where now I get to coach and connect US-based remote assistants with business owners. I absolutely love talking to business owners and finding out how we can delegate really well. And I really love the assistant side of things. So I get to work with amazing assistants like Jody, who's on the call today, and I get to help come alongside them while they support more and more businesses. So that's a little bit about me. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out. I would love to tell you more. It's a longer story than what we have time for today. But we're going to jump into it. So that first big part that we're going to talk about tonight is the task side of things and the system side of things. So I want to break it down again. My goal is not to overwhelm any of you business owners, but to really give you tangible ways to be able to give tasks over to an assistant and really feel like that creates some freedom for you. So, a couple of the biggest things that I want to jump in and talk about is really beginning with manageable tasks. So this is anything from starting small. Jody is going to drop in the chat a business owner delegations worksheet. Because I'm a former elementary teacher, I love a good handout. And so this actually will walk you through how to choose 3 to 5 basic tasks that you're doing right now that you're able to hand over to an assistant pretty instantaneously. So it'll walk you through that. Jody will drop that in the chat. And then it's also on my website as well. So that's the biggest thing is start small. Uh, it can get really overwhelming, and that's the worst thing that you can do is overwhelm yourself and overwhelm your assistant. So choose to 3 to 5 basic tasks and start there. The next part that's really awesome is that with Mills Mae Services, offer a 90-day trial period for you and your assistant. So within 90 days, you guys get to decide if this is the good partnership. I'm a matchmaker, for lack of better words, and I get to pair assistants with business owners. Um, Based on their passions and skill sets, and then based on the business owner's needs. But sometimes that looks really good on paper and then it's not the best fit, and that's okay. So you have a 90-day trial period with your assistant, and the assistant has a 90-day trial period with you. What I love about that amount of time is that when we break it down into those 3 to 5 basic tasks, you're getting to trial those for 90 days. And the next part is that if it doesn't work, refine and expand. So sometimes we realize I actually was doing that task and it wasn't benefiting my business. Or you realize, wow, like that task that I haven't been getting to as a business owner is actually super helpful and I want to focus more on that. So there's definitely an ebb and flow when you're deciding what tasks to delegate by making adjustments as you go while you're assessing what's working well and what's not working well. So, those are the big capstones of making sure that your tasks are manageable so that you can hand them off well to an assistant. So, the next part is really getting practical. This is the part where we're creating task lists. I know that this scares a lot of business owners. I personally love a good task list. I couldn't do anything without my to-do list, but I do know that this is overwhelming. So take a breath. It's okay. But it is super helpful when you're bringing on an assistant to make sure that you guys are on the same page. So this comprehensive task list can look like a variety of different things depending on how you function as a business owner and depending on how you want to communicate your task list to your assistant. So make this personal, make this what you need it to be. But these are some things that while you're creating your task list that you can focus on. The other thing that I will say is that I have a lot of this in an outline. It's a business owner information kind of sheet. So I will give that to Jody. I forgot it's not on the website, but I will make sure to download it and get it to Jody, and we will email it out to everybody. But this is a great thinking list in a way where you can kind of brainstorm and decide what task list you want and kind of break it down. It has a spot in that second point where it's daily, weekly, monthly categories. So, Jody, I will grab that and shoot it to you here in a little bit. But yeah, so when you're thinking about your task list, again, starting small, you want to make sure that you have detailed instructions, breaking it down into daily, weekly, monthly categories, establishing realistic deadlines. Even just sharing deadlines is huge. And if it's something that the assistant comes back and is like, hey, this was awesome, it was not the right deadline, then that is an open communication piece for you and your assistant to figure out what deadlines fit in your business's cycle of your ebb and flowing. So the other thing to make sure you do with your task list is to prioritize effectively. So making sure that somehow the assistant knows what is more urgent, what's more important, giving them deadlines, things like that. The other part that I know doesn't happen very often, and I am guilty of it as a business owner as well, is that reviewing things regularly. So making sure to schedule time to assess your task list. Our businesses are always growing. They're always changing. And as our business grows and develops and we realize, oh, we can do this better and more efficiently, we want to make sure that our task list is staying up to date. Again, going back to what we kind of talked about earlier, is you're going to find as you work through creating a task list for an assistant that there's going to be tasks that you actually have been doing for a really long time that need to go. Or you're going to find that there's tasks on your list that you're not doing enough of and are actually really, really helpful for your business. So, just trying to set that regular review cycle where you're talking with your assistant and saying, hey, you're looking at this as an assistant. What do you see is working well? What is not working well? And that's the biggest part of this whole thing is an assistant can do this with you. And so I literally have had clients that I've been working with that I have written my own handbook. And it is a wonderful thing because I'm in the middle of it. And so I was able to put down details that the business owner wasn't able to put down, and we were really collaborative on it. And so this doesn't have to be perfect right away. You don't have to have all of it together. That's why you're getting an assistant, is because you need somebody on the other side. And so I'm saying all of this stuff, documenting everything, having clear timelines, and I also am telling you that an assistant can help you walk through this. So don't let it get overwhelming. Start small, create a task list that has all of these details, and ask your assistant to help you do that. Okay, getting off my soapbox. The next part, you need to select the right communication tool. Now, this is really tricky for some business owners to realize what they have always done and what is actually helpful. So, again, kind of because you are looking at things in a new light with an assistant, I want you to also reevaluate what your communication tool is and if it's working well for you. If you're trying to make something work and you feel like there's such a tug and pull of, I need to communicate on Slack or Trello, and I just keep forgetting, or man, I haven't gotten back to that voice message because I don't have time to listen to it. Whatever that is, I would just encourage you to really take some time to decide how you like to communicate. And then I also would encourage you to find out how your assistant likes to communicate and see where the compromise can be. Now, as an assistant, I would default to a business owner any day. But there is some helpful ways of like, I communicate best XYZ. So then maybe the business owner can have some give and take in that sense. But there's a lot of different ways that you can communicate, and you don't have to stick to one of them. There might be some different tools that you use at different times or different seasons. So again, really the big idea is just to evaluate how you're doing it and make sure that it's efficient and effective for you. So the first part is that instant messaging system. So there's things like Slack or Microsoft Teams where you can have like a chat feature that is separate from like a text message or an email. I have found that to be super helpful because then my personal texts aren't getting mixed in with my business texts. So Slack and Microsoft Teams are really great for that. I know Google has a chat feature as well that can always be quickly messaged back and forth. So something where you have like a time sensitive thing, that might be a great spot to look at. The other piece of communication can also be through a project manager. So those are apps or web platforms such as like Asana or Trello. And these really track your task progress. So, based on the list that we were just talking about that you have set up for your assistant, a project manager can really help make sure that you guys are on the same page. You can share back and forth tasks. So if an assistant finishes something, they can pop it over to you, and then you finish whatever part you need to, and then you can pop it back to your assistant. So there's a lot of different ways to go about using those, but those are always really nice, just visually to be able to see your projects getting done. The other one for those that really hate texting or emailing and it takes too long is voice messaging. So apps like Voxer and WhatsApp, again, I try to stay away from texting too often with a business owner for myself because as an assistant because it just gets jumbled in the mess that is my life. So, a separate app like Voxer or WhatsApp where you can send voice messages back and forth is always really great. Those also will save those voice messages so the assistant can always go back and listen. I've had it where a business owner will send me like a full outline of a newsletter and they'll just talk it through. And then I would like go and put the newsletter together as their assistant. So you can really utilize voice messaging in a lot of different ways. But if that is something that saves you time, then I would highly suggest looking into some of those apps. And then also keep it simple. The whole goal of this is to make your life easier, not harder. So even just easy, simple things like if text messaging is better for you, then use text. That's totally fine. Or a Google spreadsheet. One of the business owners I've worked for has a Google spreadsheet, and this is something that I have as a resource. So Jody will drop this in the chat as well as I'll put it in the YouTube link too. But it is a communication spreadsheet where it has the date and then it has the assistant asking a question. The next column is the business owner answering that question, assistant follow up, business owner follow up, and then there's like a column at the end for a final decision. Super easy. And as an assistant, I would just pull each line after it gets a final decision and put it into my closed questions. And then I just like keep it in those closed questions because then I can come back to it at any time. But really, the whole goal of that is to just get your brain thinking about what kind of communication works well for you, what might work well for an assistant, and then how do you want to communicate? It's just something that we need to be thinking about. And if we can have an idea of it going into having an assistant, then things can be a lot smoother. So, the next part is meetings. We're almost to the relationship part. There's a lot of systems to set up. So, as you're listening to this, either live or if you listen back on the YouTube channel, please make sure to go back and pick a couple of these things. You don't have to decide on everything today. I also will tell you towards the end how a free initial consultation with me can help you work through a lot of these tasks and a lot of this information. So it might feel like a fire hydrant. It's okay. Take it in, pick what stands out the most to you, and then use that. So the regular meeting cadence, these are a couple of the different types of meetings that you can have. You do not have to do all of these. There's no mandate for this. Because I am a matchmaker and I take an assistant and pair them with a business owner and they become a 1099 contract worker directly for the business owner, you get to decide. So I don't mandate any of this. It's whatever works best for you. I am happy to have a conversation about that and figure out what type of rhythm works really well. What also is beautiful about this is it's going to change in the seasons. So when you're in a really busy project heavy season, you're probably going to have maybe even daily check-ins, weekly check-ins. But when it's a little bit slower and just on autopilot, then maybe you're just looking at longer monthly check-ins. So it just look at this in terms of how your business ebbs and flows and decide what works best for you. So you can decide anything from daily check-ins with quick 5 to 10 minute updates. I know some business owners will do this if they have a really heavy inbox where they are needing to get email communication pretty quickly to their assistant and then to the clients. Weekly reviews are super helpful, especially if you're goal-oriented business where you're trying to hit weekly goals. Just making sure that you're on the same page with your assistant. Monthly planning is always helpful. That's a really big one for social media managers because a lot of times we'll end up planning our social media content a month in advance. And so monthly planning might happen if you're project heavy or like social media content stuff. The other one is quarterly assessments. I definitely encourage all business owners to do these where you're looking, I mean, that's 4 meetings a year, but this is really helpful to bring the assistant in on, hey, like you're seeing the behind the scenes of my business. What's going well and what do you think we can improve on? And then even as a business owner, you can bring to the assistant, hey, this is working really well. Having you as my assistant doing these, and this is kind of where we need to grow. So those quarterly assessments are super big. It's always nice to plan them out ahead of time and even just get it on the books, or else I forget. And all of a sudden it's Q2 and we're all like almost halfway through the year. So make sure to schedule all of your meetings out ahead of time as you're able. And yeah, just keep those on your radar. So the next part is time tracking. So while you have your assistant, you have your communication, and you have your meetings. Those systems are going really well. You have your project management and your task list. Now you need to also have a time tracking system. It can happen on a lot of different ways. Some businesses already have a payroll type system that does hour tracking where you're clocking in and clocking out as an assistant. You can see there's a couple different options of those, such as Toggle or Harvest or Clockify. Uh, and there's also a Google spreadsheet, and that's how I've been tracking my hours. So that's another resource that I provide here with Mills Mae Services. So Jody will drop that in the chat. It's also on my website. But a Google spreadsheet, just as simple as having the date, the time that I worked, and then the hours that that made. And then at the end of the month, I add up those hours and I send an invoice. So it doesn't have to be super crazy. You also don't have to decide that on your own. That's something you can talk to me about and we can help get set up. But I know a couple questions that I've gotten from business owners recently is just wondering how they're going to track the hours. How do I make sure that my assistant is using those hours to the full potential? So, a couple different ways to do that is one, like on a Google spreadsheet, you can have like a drop down where it tells you what projects or tasks the assistant was working on during that time. There's also just, you're going to notice a difference of either your freedom levels of time and stress, or you're going to notice ROI. And so, if you're interested in talking more about how to track KPIs and ROI, then I'd absolutely love to chat more about that. But that's a whole other topic for another day. The last part of this that I just want to make sure to point out is reviewing your time cards weekly. So making sure that you're just having an open communication with the assistant. When you get an assistant, you'll have quote unquote like an allotted hours per week. The assistant will then work between 0 to those hours. And when business is on the slower end, they might work under those hours. And that's where I make sure that we piecemeal their hours together to have a full caseload for them. But uh, there are going to be times in your business that things are busy. And so if it's a season where you need to ask the assistant, hey, I actually have more work, can you jump into it? Then you just need to have that conversation, and then that can be reflected on their time card. So that is time cards. We're going to run through these pretty quickly because I know this can get really bogged down. So I will make sure to send this PowerPoint to you as well. But these are really important, and I know a lot of business owners have questions about all of these things. So if I've gone too quickly, please let me know. Again, Jody is going to be grabbing questions in the chat, so please drop those. And if anything, I would love to have a free initial consultation with you and just hear what your business is going through, what is going really well, and what you could improve on. So we can always have those conversations. But payment systems are another system that business owners often ask about with having an assistant. So there's lots of different online payrolls where it's secure through a third party, which is always really nice. Things like PayPal or Bill.com. Stripe Payment also can do that type of invoicing. Zelle is another good, easy one to do. Making sure you have a payment schedule. Some business owners are going to be paying their assistant twice a month, bi-monthly or monthly. And that's up to you. So we would just chat about that and make sure the assistant is on the same page. The other thing that is very important, business owners, just make sure that when you get an assistant, that you have a current W-9 on file for them. And then every tax season, you will complete a 1099 NEC and get that to your assistant. And then consult an accountant because that's above my pay grade. I am not an accountant, but I know it's really important. And so I have lots of resources for you business owners if you need them. Okay, the last part of this is having a relationship with your assistant is going to be key because they are in it for you. One of the really beautiful things that I get to do with pairing US based assistants with business owners is that I am able to vet these assistants. I get to chat with them for a while, see what their personality is like, and I am looking at those pieces of them, their personality and their skill set when I'm pairing them with a business owner. So, one of the things that I encourage business owners is like get to know your assistant, find out how they work, what their background is. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier. So, relationships are really important. The other thing that I really love is that these assistants really hold like this stakeholder status. So that looks like that they are bought in. They want your business to succeed. That is the whole point. And when you have an assistant that's not just there to collect a paycheck, they're not just there to log hours, they're in it because they want your business to succeed. So, the last part of that is lean in, business owners, lean into your assistant. They're going to see things in a different way than you see them. And sometimes that is super helpful. Sometimes it can be a little overwhelming, but lean in to what the possibilities could become having an assistant. So, one of the keys when you have a business relationship is providing effective feedback. So I know that we've talked about this before. I do work with a lot of business owners that are either a solopreneur or really small business. So I always like to make sure that we're reminded how to give feedback because it's not always something that's at the top of our mind. So a couple ways to give effective feedback is being specific. When you are really vague about something, it leaves uncertainty and the assistant isn't sure how to make things better, and they're not really sure how to move forward. So be specific, focus on a particular action or outcome, balance your feedback, positive with constructive feedback. Uh, the biggest thing that I see because I'm an assistant as well, and I love to I would stand on a soapbox all day long and talk about this, but acknowledge what your assistant is doing well. Find ways where you can celebrate together. Your assistant is really helping you build your business, and so celebrate that with them. I am not very good as a business owner celebrating the small victories, and those are really important. So try to lean into those. But yeah, acknowledge what's working well, find areas for improvement, suggest solutions. So rather than being really open-ended, offering clear guidance for how to improve. This is really important, especially like at that beginning 90-day trial period where the assistant's still learning who you are, what your business is. So making sure that you are giving clear guidance is really helpful. And really specific solutions. And then the last pair is that regular feedback session. So that cycle of reevaluating, again, we're going to go back to it, but reevaluating what tasks you're doing in your business is just as important as also um, evaluating how and what the assistant is doing and how and what you are doing as a business owner and seeing where there can be improvement and also seeing where there can be victory. So, those are the big things about providing effective feedback. These are all pretty uh, common things with being a human. But when you have an assistant, there is a true partnership. They want you to succeed. And so building that relationship, building that trust and rapport is going to be so huge. Open communication, again, going back to our conversation earlier, where systems are really playing a factor in building a relationship with your assistant. Make sure that you have open communication with them um, and that you're open to having communication back as well. Giving them recognition where it is deserved and being reliable. So that goes both ways. The assistant to be reliable and following up and doing the tasks that you need, but also you as a business owner being reliable and following up and communicating with your assistant. So remember that your assistant wants to be a stakeholder in your company's success. Make them feel valued and included. All right, what do we do? How do we do this? The next steps for your remote assistant journey, there's a couple different things. First, you're going to download those resources that we talked about today and that Jody is putting in the chat. We are going to chat for 45 minutes about your business and how Mills Mae Services can serve you. If you would like to proceed with finding an assistant, you can have on average 2 to 3 informal interviews with remote assistants here in the US. And then you get a 90-day trial period. I'm with you for the journey. I want you to succeed, and these assistants want you to succeed as well. So, my contact information will be either in the chat if you're on the webinar, or it will be in the comments or the description for the YouTube channel. Okay, that was a lot. Thank you guys for being here, for taking some time to listen and really feel like you're going to be prepared to have an assistant. Don't forget, it doesn't all have to be on you. I can help, your assistant can help, we're here for you. Okay. Jody, I'm gonna have you unmute. Did you get some questions? I would love to take at least a couple minutes to answer those and then we'll wrap things up.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions.
Perfect.
Um, One question is, what if I don't have a clear idea of all the tasks that a remote assistant can handle? Like, where
Mm,
do I even start?
it's a great question. A couple different things. Millsandmay.com is our website. If you click on the business owner tab at the top, there's actually a pretty great list of different tasks that an assistant can help you with, from anything from data entry and business metrics to social media, marketing, um, really you name it, whatever the behind the scenes are. The other thing that I will say is um, that delegation worksheet is super helpful with thinking about your business as a whole. What are some of the timeline of tasks that you're doing from start of either a product or service all the way to the end of your client having that product or service, and filling out that timeline and then breaking those tasks down. I'm also really happy to brainstorm any of those with you. But yeah, starting small, I think is super helpful. And I have a couple lists on millsandmay.com. That's a great question, though. It is scary. Not really sure where to start sometimes.
Another good question. How can I ensure that important information isn't getting lost in different communication
Mm.
channels?
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Especially after we just chatted about all the different communication channels, there's a lot of ways that you can talk. I would say the biggest thing I would encourage is figure out what communication channel works best for you as the business owner and hone in on that, so that you're not having multiple conversations all over the place. I know for me and one of my clients, we pared it down and just went to a Google spreadsheet that I check in, that we both check in every day, because that's where like our big questions are asked. That's where we can keep track of progress on different, like just jobs in general. So I would say it can be really exciting to use a lot of tools for communicating, but if it's becoming something that you're missing things, paring back is always the best thing you can do. That's a good one.
Um, Ooh, how do I ensure the accuracy of the time tracked by my
Mm.
assistant?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good one. So yeah, it is different. I've discussed this with a couple businesses recently. Because we're remote working now. I mean, COVID definitely changed that in a lot of ways. I think the biggest thing, if you're worried about seeing results with your assistant, creating that spreadsheet or that system where you're tracking KPIs, or just even looking at your ROI, those are super important to making sure that you feel like your money that you're paying your assistant um is going to the right place. But I think too, like you'll be able to tell if your assistant isn't getting the work done. Um and yeah, so I would, if you're worried about that, I would definitely encourage chatting with me or even a business coach about how do you want to track progress, and then we can integrate that with a time card. Yeah, that's super good. Maybe like one more question, Jody, if there's any others
Um,
out there.
okay, there's one. Oh, okay, I like this one.
Okay,
What are some ways to proactively build trust with a new
Mhm.
remote assistant?
That's good. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good. Especially with being remote, it can be relationships can be a little tricky. I would say a couple different things. Especially up front, the more that you have the capacity to meet with your assistant, the more that you're gonna learn their personality and some of that back end, like background knowledge of who they are. So the more that you can really just get to know them, that's always super helpful. I know that doesn't always, we don't always have the time as business owners, but just the getting to know who they are as a person is really, really helpful, because then that personal aspect translates to the trust and the rapport of like being a worker. So yeah, just little things of like doing a quick Zoom call, um, figuring out how they want to communicate, that kind of thing. But it is, I will acknowledge that it is tricky, um, especially if you've gone from an in the office type assistant or in office coworker situation to remote. You just have to be more intentional about it, I think is like at the end of the day. So awesome. Well, thank you, Jody, for grabbing those questions. I'm sure there was a couple more, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And if there's more questions, I'll also answer them in the comments and stuff here in a little bit. So thanks, Jody. Um, okay. That's really like the big stuff that I wanted to touch today. I know it was a lot. So we are going to go ahead and upload this to YouTube. And if you want to go watch the replay, that is awesome. I also am available for a free initial consultation. If you just head to millsandmay.com, there's a free booking link right there. And I will reach out and we will just discuss. There's never any strings attached. Sometimes it's not the right time to get an assistant, and I'll be honest with you if it's not the right time. So, the best thing we can do is just chat about it, look at what you have on your plate, and see how we can delegate well, and not just delegate for the sake of delegating. So, my email address is also brianne@millsandmay.com. So, please reach out. I am super excited for you, cheering you on, especially as a small business owner. It is not an easy task, but it is definitely necessary. So, thank you guys for joining me tonight and take care, be safe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, guys.